When you're scrolling through the endless sea of espresso grinders, the pictures can be deceiving. A sleek black machine looks like a promise of calf-quality shots, but the moment you bring it home the grind can be uneven, the motor whines, and you're left with a bitter brew that feels more like a disappointment than a reward. That hesitation is real, and it's why I wanted to dig deeper before I hit buy. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. The Nuova Simonelli G60 is the kind of grinder that brands market as a commercial-grade solution for serious home baristas. It's not cheap, and it carries the weight of a name that's been around coffee shops for decades. What makes the decision tricky is that the market is flooded with smaller, cheaper units that claim professional results, but often fall short on consistency or durability. So the question is, does the G60 actually deliver on the promise, or is it just a pretty box with a hefty price tag? First off, let's talk about the grind adjustment. The G60 offers a micrometric system that lets you turn the dial and feel each click correspond to a tiny change in particle size. In practical terms, that means you can dial in a setting for a double shot, then nudge it a notch for a ristretto without having to guess. I tested this by pulling a series of shots at 3 different settings, timing each extraction, and tasting the balance. The transition between settings was smooth. The coffee didn't suddenly become watery or over-extracted. For anyone who likes to experiment with dose and brew ratio, that level of precision cuts down on trial and error time. The burrs themselves are 60 mm stainless steel, a size you typically see on shop floor machines. That translates to a larger grinding surface, which in everyday use means the motor doesn't have to work as hard when you're grinding a full portafilter. Over a week of pulling 2 espresso shots each morning, the motor stayed quiet and never seemed to struggle, even when I pushed it to grind a finer setting for a pour-over. For a home setup that sees heavy daily use, that durability is a concrete benefit. One practical strength that often gets overlooked is the die-cast aluminum body. It's not just about looking solid. The material dissipates heat better than plastic housings. I noticed that after grinding a batch of beans for a full day of espresso service, think a small weekend brunch crowd, the grinder stayed cool to the touch. That matters because excess heat can alter bean flavor, especially if you're grinding in between shots. So if you're the kind of host who runs a mini cafe at home on weekends, the G60's temperature stability helps keep each shot tasting fresh. The portafilter holder and built-in switch are small conveniences that feel designed for a workflow you'd find behind a commercial bar. The holder keeps the portafilter steady while you grind, preventing wobble that can lead to uneven dosing. The switch, placed conveniently on the front, lets you start and stop the grind without reaching for a power button on the side. In my kitchen, where the counter space is cramped, those ergonomic touches reduce the chance of spills and make the whole process feel more intentional. Now, no machine is perfect, and the G60 has a couple of trade-offs that matter if you're particular about your setup. The grinder is fairly heavy, about 15 kg, so moving it from the counter to a storage shelf isn't a weekend project. If you live in a small apartment where countertop real estate is at a premium, you'll need to plan a dedicated spot for it. Also, the grind chamber is open, which is typical for commercial models, but it means a bit of dust can escape during the grind. I found a light layer of fine powder on the backsplash after a long session, so a small cleaning routine is advisable if you're sensitive to mess. Another point to consider is noise. While the motor didn't feel strained, the grinder does produce a louder whir than a home-grade conical burr unit. In a quiet house, the sound can be noticeable, especially early in the morning. If your kitchen is adjacent to a bedroom, you might want to think about timing your first shot a few minutes after the household wakes up, or invest in a simple acoustic mat under the unit to dampen the vibration. You should hit the Add to Cart button for the G60. If you already have a reliable espresso machine, care about shot consistency, and grind multiple doses a day, perhaps you're a coffee enthusiast who runs a homebrew club, or you host regular tasting sessions, the G60's precision and durability pay off. It also suits small-scale CAF owners who want a single-serve grinder that can handle a steady flow without overheating. The micrometric adjustment and commercial-grade motor give you the control you need without constantly recalibrating. Who should walk away? If you're a casual drinker who makes a single espresso a day, or you're just dipping your toes into the world of home espresso, a smaller, less expensive grinder will likely meet your needs and keep